Hello again. Today we're working in Photoshop CS4, and today's tutorial is about brightening up a picture that may be underexposed or too dark. And I'm going to show you one way in which I would attack that type of problem. I have an image up here, happens to be my sister. You can have an image up if you want to follow along that's underexposed or dark. First thing I do is unlock the background layer by double-clicking the lock and say OK to that. And just to be safe, I always duplicate the layer by hitting Command J. The first way to address this in terms of just trying to brighten it up would be by doing a levels adjustment, which you can find down here on the bottom of your layers palette. If you click on that, you can go right up to levels, and it will launch a little histogram on the side over here. What I like to do is slide the left side, which is this small black little dot here, and slide it in over until I hit the beginning of that histogram. I can tell the histogram is pretty off at this point. And then what I like to do is go to the other side of that as well and click the white side and move that in. And take my midtones and push them all the way towards the left. And you'll start to see the face brighten up quite a bit. Somewhere in there is actually pretty good, and we're going to have an overexposed looking shot or a soft looking shot, but to me that's better than what we started with. So I'm going to move my mid-tone over a little bit and see the lightening happening in the face there. And that's great for us for now, so I can click here and accept that. The next thing I'd like to do is add even more brightening to the face, and what I'm going to do is just kind of paint in a mask using a curves adjustment. So let's go down to the layers adjustment panel and launch another layer. This one's going to be curves. When you launch that, you can bring the center of that curves adjustment up just a little bit, and everything starts to whiten out and get real blown out. This isn't great for the whole picture, but it is pretty for the face. It can lighten up the face, and it's another way of kind of brightening areas without being heavy-handed and wanting to paint with skin color or doing airbrushing. You can just brighten with curves. Now what I'd like to do is, since this is pretty bright for the overall photograph, I'd like to make a mask and invert this mask. We already have one that launches with it, but all I have to do here is click on masks and invert that mask, and it hides our adjustment that we just put in. Let's paint it where we want it by grabbing a brush. Make sure it's a nice soft brush. Your hardness slider should be all the way over to the left. Maybe bring it up, maybe 20 is fine. 15, 20 is a good space to be. And let's make sure this opacity that we're painting with is about, let's say about 85%. We can always add more. Let's make that brush a little larger by using our right bracket tool. I'm just tapping that. And make sure you're painting with white, which is the reveal. If I start painting in her face, you can see it's brightening up. And painting through the hair, that's also brightening up, as well as the jacket. Kind of come down here, paint through the denim, and our mask reflects exactly where we've painted. I'm going to leave the hat actually darker the way it is, and I'm going to leave her hand in this area light the way it is. I'm not going to paint more into that, but the important thing to notice if I turn this layer on and off is that we have a lightening happening in the face. Now what I'd like to do is do a little bit of airbrushing in this area, or what we could do first is drop out some of this color. There's a faint amount of color in the background, and just to make her come forward a little bit more, I'm going to drop the color out in the background by launching a black and white layer in the back. We can do that by coming over to our adjustment panel and clicking that. Click on the picture first and select black and white with green filter. I'm going to move that layer up to the top, and the black and white layer is right there. And what I'd like to do is, it's now making everything black and white. So what I'd like to do is invert that layer by hitting Command I. It shows us our color again. Make sure you're painting with white in the reveal, and use the same brush you had up. And let's make the background black and white by making a nice big brush, and I'm painting away the color. There goes the orange, it's gone there. I'm losing this color here. And I'm just kind of moving it just around her hairline and around her jacket. And it's a subtle effect, but it drops out some of the distracting background if there's other colors back there. So I'll show you the before. That's the before, there's the after. Now we can do a little bit of airbrushing. Let's go over to create a new layer on the bottom here. click that once, and we're going to zoom in nice and close by hitting Command plus and come into the eye area here. Let's make our brush nice and small by dropping that left bracket, tapping it a couple times, and let's make it nice and soft by moving the hardness all the way to the left. Now quickly what we can do is take the opacity that we're about to paint with down to about 16 or 17%. While your brush is hovering over this area, let's hold down the Option key and you'll see an eyedropper come up. And what I want to do is select kind of some of the skin color right in here, which is nice white, and it'll show up in the foreground color. That means I'm ready to paint with it. So I'm going to gently kind of insert that color around the eye, just clicking away, and you can see what we have is it's nice and clean now around this eye. I will sample again over here and grab a color that's similar to that, and again I'll tap a couple times here. Remember, the opacity is really low and we're just painting in a little bit of a subtle lift and a cleanup in that area. You can grab something a little more white, make your brush nice and small, and come into this corner a little bit and lighten that up slightly. Again, you can grab again by holding Option. You'll get the eyedropper, click once, it puts it in the foreground here. That means you're painting with it. And you can just drop it along any dark areas you want to brighten up. So that's pretty good right there. Let's do one final touch. There's the after, here's the before. I'm clicking it back on. Final touch to this would be I'm going to add a little bit of darkening and depth to the eyes. I'm going to do that by launching a new layer. We've seen this before. It's a curves layer. Once you have the curves layer up, drop it down and pull down your curves so you have some darkness in that photo. Now the whole photo is going to go dark, which is ultimately not what we want, but again, we know the power of mask, so we're going to click on mask. Let's invert that darkening so we can't see it, and now we have a blocked curves adjustment. Essentially, we're hiding it. Let's put it where we want it by making a nice soft brush right around the eye area, and I'm going to move my opacity up a little more from here, maybe about 20%, 22%, and just go along the eye area on the outer part of where that eyeshadow was, and then clicking away a little bit, doing it on this eye as well, clicking and running it back and forth. And there is the after, there's the before, and we've just added some makeup. So let me back out and let's show you where we started. We started with an underexposed shot. I'm going to hold down Option on this last layer. Hold down Option while you click the eye. That's before, that's after. That's before, that's after. Our last touch was kind of a nice finishing touch here. You can see it. We've added some density and importance to the eye. If it's too strong, just dial it back here with the opacity slider. And you can leave it at about 80% and check to see how it looks before and after. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's a quick fix for an underexposed shot. We took it a couple steps further by adding some airbrushing under the eyes and adding some nice detail and density with the makeup. Hope you enjoy. Try it on a shot that you think might work, and tune in again and we'll have more tutorials up for you here again. Thanks for watching.